Yeah. So good morning, class. So let me start. Yeah. So in the last class, we were discussing about the stresses in soil, right? So let me open the PPT. Okay. So in the last class, we were discussing about stresses in soil. So the main objective of this chapter is to find out the stresses below the loaded area. Okay. So like this, if you are constructing some industrial oil tanks or some warehouse or some residential building. Okay, so these will exert a pressure to a limited extent. Okay, so only for limited width it will exert a pressure. Okay, on the soil mass. Okay, so due to construction of these structures, what is the stress? Huh? What is the stress increase in the soil below the footing? Okay, so that is called as delta sigma z. Okay, so this the main objective of this chapter is to find out this delta sigma z. How you can find out this delta sigma z. Okay, so in the last class we already discussed about the point loads. Okay, so about concentrated loads we have discussed. Huh? About concentrated loads we have discussed. If at all, if you applied any vertical load, any vertical concentrated load, then how to find out the stress increase at any point. Okay, so that point may be exactly below the applied load, or it may be certain at a certain distance. Okay, so if you want to calculate the stress increase on this soil mass, so due to this applied Q load, and this is the Z, that is a depth below the ground level, and this is the R, that is radial distance from the applied load. So if you want to find out the delta sigma Z, then you should apply this Bosnisk equation. If you apply this Bosnisk equation, then we can find out the stress increase at any point below the loaded area. Okay, so that that loaded area is just now in the last class we discussed, that is a point load. Okay, so if at all any concentrated load or point load, if you apply, then how you can find out, that we discussed. Okay, so in the today's class I am planning to discuss if it is a circular load. Okay, like oil tank, this ONGC plants, if you would have seen, no, those in the ONGC plants and all, they have to store, or even in this Indian oil storage tanks will be there, no, so they will have a huge silo will be there. Hmm? So if you have visited this or Bijapur railway station, okay, so towards once in the railway, when you start going towards the Solapur side, on the left side you will just after the Bijapur railway station, there is a Indian oil storage tanks will be there. Okay, so huge silos will be there. If you carefully, if you see them next time, whenever you are going towards Solapur side, you can see that. Huh? Those circular silos will be there. So those circular silos usually will have a circular foundations or ring foundations also we can call. Okay, so they will sit on this kind of foundations. Then we'll see the rectangular load. Anyway, rectangular load may best example is your isolated footings, rectangular or square, whatever you want. And then equivalent point load method we will see, then pressure distribution diagrams also you can see, then the Newmark chart. Okay, so up to here I am planning today. So this second part I will take up in the from Monday classes. Okay, so big picture, what is the big picture? As a geotechnical engineer, you should avoid these two conditions. One is bearing capacity failure condition, and another one is the excessive supplement. Hmm? If you could able to avoid these two conditions, then you are safe. Okay, your job is done. So one thing, you should ensure that the structure will not fail in the shear, This is the shear failure. These two examples are the shear failure examples. And at the same time, your structure should not undergo excessive settlement. It should not undergo any excessive settlement. So this is the best example for that settlement criteria. Okay. So as a geotechnical engineer, your job is to avoid these two conditions. So my PPT is visible for you now. Yes, please respond, anybody.
Yes, sir.
Okay, everything is going on according to plan, right? Okay. So once see this bearing capacity failure is there. No, this bearing capacity failure will come to this one in the fourth unit. Okay, so we have a fourth unit where in detail we will discuss this bearing capacity failure, how to avoid this bearing capacity failure. Okay, so that is a shallow foundations. There is in the fourth unit we will discuss in detail more about this bearing capacity failure. Okay, so in the today's lecture in this unit number 2, we'll mostly concentrate on this one. We'll mostly concentrate on the settlement criteria. Okay, so in detail this bearing capacity failure criteria we'll discuss in the fourth unit. Okay, so in the settlement criteria, if I want to discuss settlement criteria, there are 3 types of settlements. Basically there are 3 types of settlement. One is the immediate settlement, or distortion settlement, or you can also call it as elastic settlement. Okay, and second type of settlement is the consolidation settlement, and then third type is the creep settlement. So elastic settlement, consolidation settlement, and creep settlement, all 3 together we will call it as a total settlement. This is the total settlement. Okay, so this total settlement should be within the permissible limit. Okay, what is that permissible limit? We will see in the coming classes. Okay, so there is IS 8009 is there. Okay, so I think yeah, IS 8009, where they will provide you for different type of structure what is your permissible settlement. Okay, so for residential building, your permissible limit should be, your total settlement should be less than 50 to 60 mm. 50 to 60 mm. Okay, so this is the permissible limit. If your structure is going beyond this settlement, then you are failing to satisfy the settlement criteria. Okay, so always you should make sure that your structure should not settle more than 50 to 60 mm. Okay, again, this 50 to 60 mm, it depends on the different types of structures and different types of foundation. If you have a raft foundation, again some number will be there. Okay, so those things we will see in coming classes. Okay, so what is the permissible limit for different types of foundations and different types of structures. Okay, so to calculate this settlement is there, no? To calculate this whatever settlements are there, to calculate your immediate settlement or consolidation settlement or your secondary settlement, you need to find before calculating this settlement, you need to find out the increase in stress due to this structure. Suppose if you are constructing here this structure, no, so there due to this structure, see before constructing this structure, what will be the, suppose this is my ground level. Okay, so this is my ground level. Before constructing any structure, you will have only what stress you have? You have only geostatic stress. Okay, so let me write here geostatic stress. Okay, before constructing the structure. I'm talking about only, and now I'm talking about only the vertical stresses. Okay, so due to applied load or due to I'm talking about only the vertical stress, that is sigma z. There will be horizontal stresses also will be there, but those will be more important for different kinds of structure. Okay, so those things we will discuss in our third unit. Okay, where we will discuss retaining wall. There comes your horizontal stress. Now for time being, now we are discussing only the vertical stress. Okay, so this vertical stress, there are two types of vertical stress. One is geostatic stress. So this geostatic stress is due to that dead weight or mass of this soil. Okay, so and then there is another stress. Okay, so that is increase in stress, delta sigma z we will call. Increase in stress due to your structure. Suppose here I am constructing some two-story building. First story, second story. Okay, so due to this structure, now I have constructed this structure. Due to this structure, what is the stress increase here? Okay, so that I should know, delta sigma z. Once I know this delta sigma z, then only I can calculate your immediate settlement and or elastic settlement or consolidation settlement or your creep settlement. Okay, first to calculate these settlements, first job is to find out this delta sigma z. So how to find out this delta sigma z, we'll see. So as I told in my previous explanation, there are two types of stresses in the soil mass. So this is my soil mass, this is my structure. So before constructing any structure, if you want to see the stress here, that will be a geostatic stress. Okay, so geostatic stress will linearly, it will keep on increasing as you go deeper and deeper inside the soil. Okay, now once anyway, this geostatic stress, how to find out this geostatic stress? It is simply the depth into the unit weight of this soil. Okay, suppose depth is around 5 meter. 5 meter is the depth, and around 20 my unit weight is something around some 20 kilo Newton per meter cube is the unit weight of this soil. Then what is the geostatic stress here? 5 into 20. Okay, that is my geostatic stress. Very simple and straightforward to calculate the geostatic stress. But due to superstructure, what is the stress increase? That is delta sigma z. How to find out that delta sigma z? Due to my superstructure, this is my superstructure. Okay, due to superstructure, what is the increase in the stress here? So that to calculate that is not as straightforward as like geostatic stress. Okay, so there are different methods are there to calculate the stress increase due to my superstructure. Whereas to calculate the geostatic stress, it is very simple concept. Simply you take at what depth you want to calculate, you take down and then multiply with the bulk unit weight of that soil will give me the geostatic stress. But whereas if you want to calculate the superstructure, the increase in stress due to superstructure, it depends on the shape of the footing, what is the shape of the footing, and stiffness of this footing, whether it's a rigid footing or a flexible footing. Parameters, your stress increase also will change. Okay, so the main aim of this chapter is to find out that stress increase due to superstructure. Okay, so for but how they will vary along the depth? They will vary increase at the point of application of the load. The stress will be very high here. As you go deeper into the soil, the stress will start reducing here. Okay, so this here it is a linear variation, here it's a exponential variation. Okay, so we have seen again in the surface loads also. So this what is delta sigma z is now, this is coming due to your surface load. Okay, so again in the surface load, there are two types of surface loads. One surface load is like a fill over a larger area. Fill over a larger area means see, your loading on the ground is very wide. Okay, so much wide that it's almost whatever the width of loading is almost equal to your depth of soil profile. Okay, so in that condition, what will happen? Your delta sigma z will be very linear. Okay, so constant throughout the depth, your delta sigma z will be constant. Suppose your delta sigma z is here something around some 100 kPa. The same 100 kPa will continue till all over the depth. In case of fill over a large area. But what is the example for this kind of structure? Fill over a large area. Suppose if you want to build a embankment. Okay, that embankment will see your railway embankment. Railway embankment anyway width will be very small. Okay, so that will not come into in this category. Suppose if you build a very large embankments, if you are building some very large embankment, then this is my ground level. Suppose this is my ground level. Okay, so here the stress increase is there. Almost it is it will vary uniformly. It will vary. They will vary uniformly. Okay, so suppose the dead weight of this much, this load is something around some 10,000 kPa, kilopascal. This much if you have, if your loading is there, the same 10,000 kPa will vary along the depth. The same 10,000 kPa will be there. It may be at 0 meter, or 1 meter, or 2 meter, or 3 meter, whatever depth you take. Okay, same thing will be there. This is holds good in case where the loaded area is very large. But our foundations will apply the load only to a limited depth, only limit to a limited width, right? So foundation with a limited dimension. That means, let's see, suppose this is my superstructure, and these are my foundation width. Okay, only this much foundation width is there. Okay, so if you compare to the depth, the applied load is very small. Applied loads width is smaller. Okay, so in that case, the stresses will vary like this. At the top, it will be high. As you go deeper into the ground, the stress will reduce. Okay, so now we'll see here whatever this limited area, whatever load we will be applying. No, so that load will be applied in different shapes. Okay, so those may be a point load, or line load, or a strip load, or a load, or a circular area, or rectangular area. Okay, so depending on this type, different area, the stress increase also will change. So those things, how to calculate those things, we will see. So I in my previous lecture, I already explained all the assumptions and what they actually mean. Bosnick's theory. So Bosnick's theory, first Bosnick has given to calculate the stress increase at a certain depth and at a certain radial distance due to the point load. This is the point load. So what is that equation? That equation is this one: delta sigma z equal to 3q by 2 pi z square into 1 upon 1 plus r by z whole square whole raised to 5 by 2. What is z here? Z is the vertical depth below the applied load, and r is the radial distance from the applied load. Okay, so this big equation can be written like this: delta sigma z equal to q by z square into iq. Iq is nothing but Bosnick's influence factor, I can call. Okay, so some textbook they will use iq, or they will use ib also. They will use, okay, ib is nothing but Bosnick's influence factor. Bosnick's influence factor. Okay, so how to get this Bosnick's influence factor? The Bosnick's influence factor they given in terms of table. Okay, for different r by z combination, this Bosnick's influence factor will be given. Okay, so, and also in the last class we have seen one problem also, right? Yeah. So let me see. Let me explain this Bosnick's point load again once again here. How they will vary along the depth and width. Okay, so suppose this is my foundation. Okay, so due to this foundation, the whatever this stress, increased stress is not this P1 is nothing but a delta sigma Z1 at a depth of D1. So this is nothing but delta sigma Z2 at a depth of D2. As you compare at the D1, at a depth D2, your delta sigma Z2 is less than your delta sigma Z1. Okay, as you go deeper into the ground, the stress will decrease. Same is holds good even for the your radial distance. Okay, so you see, due to radially, if you see here, just near to this loading, the stress will be high here. As you go away from the loading, the stresses will decrease. Okay, the stress will decrease here as compared to here. Okay. So that Bosnisk table, either they can give table or even they can give in terms of a graph also. This is the graph. So this is R by Z. The x-axis is your R by Z, and y-axis is your influence factor. So this problem we have seen in our previous class. Okay, so we explained, and this problem also we have seen, and one more problem we were solving, but I think partially I solved. Let me take that problem. Anybody able to solve complete that problem fully? This problem. This is examination problem only. So this is the first point load, second point load, and third point load. And what is the horizontal distance between those point loads? 1.5 meter. Okay, and what is the depth they are asking? They are asking at a depth of 1 meter, and they are asking you to find out the stresses below these point loads, and also in the midway between these 2 point loads. Okay, so I have taken first point A, B, C. Okay, so if you remember this formula, this is delta. Let me write here, delta sigma Z is equal to, what is the formula? Q by Z square into your influence factor. Okay, IB, I will write IB or IQ, whatever you want, influence factor. So anyway, the influence factor they given in the problem here for a different R by Z combination. A different R by Z combination, you have given this influence factor. Okay, so for R by Z equal to 0, and for R by Z equal to 0.75, for R by Z equal to 1.5, what is the influence factor? 0.0251. So now let me calculate first the delta sigma Z at point A. How I can calculate here? So for this one, R by Z is equal to 0 here, because I am calculating exactly below the, okay, due to this load, what is the increase in the increase in stress at point A? So let me write this as a P1, P2, P3. Okay, so this is P1, and this is understood. Is due to P1 and D 64, that is Q. Okay, so I so for is 0 at point A due to 1.5 by, so like that you should calculate here. So sigma Z A, so due to sigma Z A, this is my load. That is delta sigma Z A. That is nothing but the increase in stress at point A due to P1, P2, P3. Okay. Similarly, delta sigma Z B is how much I got? 9.29 kilonewton per meter square. That this is due to this load. This increase in stress at point B due to P1, P2, and P3. Similarly, at C due to P1, P2, P3. Now, again, they have asked you to find out the stress increase at D and E. Also, they are asking you to find out. Okay, so let me calculate that. So delta sigma z at point where? At point D. At point D, I want to calculate. Delta sigma z at point D. Anybody calculated that one? Huh? Yes, anybody has calculated? Chinmay, did you try that problem? Chinmay, Chikmat, or Kumar? Anybody tried that problem? Priyadarshini? Yes, sir. No, please respond. Otherwise, if you keep quiet, then I will keep on asking. Say yes or no. Simple. No, sir. I not tried. Or yes, I tried. This is the answer I got. Huh? This seems monotonous. Okay, so you should respond whenever I am asking question. You should respond. Kiran Kumar, are you there, Kiran Kumar? You already unmuted. You can speak. Kashish
Yes, sir.
Sangvi. Yeah, Kiran, are you there, Kiran?
Sir.
Have you tried that problem?
Yeah. No, sir.
No. Okay. At least did you understood the procedure?
Yes, sir.
Understood, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Priyadarshini and Sangvi, anybody please respond?
I'm not right.
You not tried, huh?
No, sir.
Have you understood the procedure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Kashish, Sangvi. Okay, anyway, I will solve the problem. Okay, so if you got any doubt in me, meanwhile, please feel free to stop me and ask the question. Okay. So now, where is this? Okay. So I will try to solve here. Okay, now I have to find out at D point and at E point. Okay, so first let me calculate delta sigma z at point D. At point D due to P1 plus P2 plus P3. Okay, due to these loads P1, P2, P3 are there. No? Due to that load, I want to calculate. Okay, so delta sigma z at point D is equal to, what is that formula? Main formula here, Q by Z square into I, right? Okay, so let me write here. What is Q? P1 is 64 kilonewton. 64 kilonewton, right? Divided by, what is Z? Z is anyway same only, 1 meter, 1 square, into the influence factor. Due to point load IP1, I will write. plus then 15 kilonewton is my second load, right? So 15 divided by Z square into the influence factor due to point load two, okay, plus that is P2 over then P3. So P3 is how much? 21 kilonewton. So 21 by 1 square, that is Z square, into influence factor due to IP3 I will write. Okay. Now, what is IP1? IP1 is nothing but R by Z I should see. So what is R by Z for the point D due to P1? What is R by Z here? Tell me. At least this you should tell me. R by Z. Due to P1 at see what is the Z? Z anyway 1. R is 1.5 by 2, right? 0.75. For that 0.75, what is my IB? For 0.75, IB is 0.1565. So R by Z, that is R is 0.75 divided by 1. Okay, so my IP1 is now 0. How much? For R by Z ratio of 0.75, your IB is 0.1565. 565. Okay. Similarly, so even IP2 also same only. Okay, so this is also IP. So due to this load, what is R by Z here? Again 1.5 by 2. Z is same. So for R by Z of 0.75, what is the IB? 0.1565. Okay, now due to this load, what is R by Z? Half of this one. 1.5 plus 0.75. Okay, that means 2.25. So R by Z is 2.25 by. R by Z is 2.25. For that 2.25, what is my IB value? 0.05. Okay, so my IP3. So IP3 is equal to R by Z. R by Z. So what is R1? Okay, so for that corresponding, what is my influence factor? So it will be 0.053. Okay, so for this 2.25, 0.053 is my influence factor. So 0.053. Okay, now tell me the answer. Delta sigma Z at point D. Tell me. 64 by 1 square into 0.1565 plus 15 kilonewton divided by Z square into my IP2 is 0.1565 plus what is my third load? Third load is 21, right? 21 kilonewton divided by Z square into my influence factor for the third load is 0.053. 0.053. Tell me the answer. Delta sigma Z at point D. How much?
13.48.
13.48. Yeah, 4847. Very good. Kilonewton per units also very important. Without unit, it doesn't carry any marks. Okay, so if you not write any unit straight away, I will give 0 marks here. Units are very, very important. Without unit, this number does not have any meaning. Okay, so similarly now, similarly you calculate at point E. At point E, due to this load, and due to this load. So delta sigma z at point E is equal to, so I will write in detail like this. Okay, so that is, what is my load? 64 kilonewton divided by z is how much? 1 into what is the influence factor here? What is R by Z here? R by Z at point E, due to my P1 load. R by Z is how much? So 1.5 plus this 0.75, right? So 2.25. So for the 2.25, what is the influence factor? 0.053. So 64 into 0.053. Okay, so this is my R by Z. For R by Z of how much? 2.25. Okay, so plus second load. What is the second load? 15 kilonewton. 15 into divided by Z is 1. Into your R by Z, you check R by Z at point E at point 0.75. 0.1 value. R by Z is 0. Third load is 21 kilo. Z square, no, it is 1 square. That's why I written only 1. So in 3, so 1.1565. 0.15 sigma Z at, what is the answer? 9.026 kilonewton per meter square. Okay. This is any doubt in this one? Problem? This kind of problem will be asked in your IA exam. Not exactly same thing, but same type. So this month end you will have your IA exam, right? So I will ask this kind of problem in your IA. So if you have any doubt, please ask me now. So only is where you are calculating and what is the R by Z ratio for that particular load at that point. Understood that, then it will be straightforward. Okay. Shall I continue? Any doubts are there in there? Here? No doubt? Okay. So I will go back to my PPT here. Okay. So now we'll see the stress increase due to a line load. Okay. So suppose if you have a line load, then how to find out the delta sigma Z here? at this point. Okay. It is my delta sigma z at this point, at point x. So in the previous slide, we have seen that due to point load. Okay, so now we are seeing due to a line load. Okay, so this line load will be like this. So whatever this point load is, that's that if you integrate along the length of the loading width, then you will get a line load. Okay, so if you are to calculate, this is the formula you should use. Delta sigma z equal to q by z into 2 divided by pi of 1 into x plus x by z whole square and whole square here. Okay. So anyway, see, this formula is not that important. Okay, so don't try to remember this, but I want you to remember at least that first formula. Okay, whatever this formula is, or no? Yeah, this formula. This is very important formula. Okay, so this you should remember. So this line load formula, if even if you are not able to remember, that's okay. Okay, so line load is not that important. But whatever question paper I have seen, many questions have asked based on the point load. Okay, so how to find out the stress increase at any point due to the line load? This is the formula you should use. Now, once after, see, this is the extension of point load only. So, see, once you could be able to find out a stress increase due to this point load, the only thing is mathematics. So simply you integrate along the length, then it will become a line load. Okay. So now if you integrate along the total area, then it will become a rectangular. Then if you integrate along the radius, then it will become a circular load. Okay. So the basic equation is this one, but only the form once you integrate and put the respective limits, then the formula will keep on changing according to different shape of loading. Okay, so this is for line loading, this is the formula, and for the uniformly loaded rectangular area. Okay, suppose if you have a rectangular area, so this is the load. This is the load. Now, how to find out the stress increase at this point? Okay, so this point is exactly below one of the corner. Okay, so this formula is there. This formula is applicable only to calculate the stress increase at below the some corner point. Okay, so this formula you cannot use to calculate if at all if they ask you to find out the stress increase at the center of this rectangular, then this formula should not be used. Okay, so there are some other techniques are there. I will tell you how to calculate the stress increase at other than the corner point. Okay, now we'll discuss how to calculate the stress increase due to the rectangular area at a point below one of the corner. So this is the formula. Okay, this is the formula, but you need not to remember this formula. Okay, don't remember this formula. You need not to remember this formula, but you should remember this one: delta sigma z. Delta sigma z I will write. Okay, so this delta sigma z is equal to I into Q. What is Q? Q is nothing but your UDL, whatever UDL you applied through this rectangular area, into I. I is your influence factor here. This is the influence factor. Okay. Again, you need not to remember this formula. Okay. So this is a very big formula. It is not expected to remember. Okay. So if you're able to remember this formula, then this kind of charts will be there. So whatever this I value is there, no? This I value is given in terms of chart here. Okay. So this is your influence factor chart. So your y-axis is I, and your different for m and n combination. See, these are the n value, and where is my? This is n equal to 1, 1. These are the n values, different n values. Okay, so these are the influence factors. and here I think 1 minute. See this somewhere. Just a minute. I will rectify here. This figure in this figure. Yes, it is here. See, that's what I was searching. Okay, where the M has gone. Okay, so I will keep it front. Bring front to this front. Okay. Okay. Now it is fine. Okay. See, on the x-axis, what do you have? On the x-axis, we have m, and for different n values for different n values 0.1, 0.3, 0.5, 0.7, like that. For different m and n combination, I will get the influence factor, that is I. So what is m and n here? M and n are nothing but m is equal to your breadth is there, no? That breadth divided by z will give me n, m. Okay. So similarly, n is equal to your length divided by z will give me n value. Okay. So once you get the m and n value, I can go to this. I can refer to this chart, and then I can pick this influence factor, and I can multiply with that q value, whatever loading intensity is there. Will give me the stress increase at a corner point. Okay, so remember this, whatever delta sigma z we are calculating, that is at the corner point of this rectangular area. Understood, no? So don't try to remember this formula, okay, and at the same time don't try to remember this formula also. It's very difficult to remember this formula, but in the examination, what they will give this for a different m and n combination, they will give you the influence factor here. They should give. Okay, so if some sensible person is setting the question paper, then he will give m and n value for influence factor for different m and n combination, or you should give this chart. Okay, so you are not expected to remember the formula. This is a very we can't remember this formula, right? So it's very difficult to remember. Okay, so he should give this chart, he should give, or he can give in table. Okay, so for different m and z value, for different m and z combination, he will give the influence factors. So simply you pick up those, you calculate m and z and go to that table and pick up those influence factor. Then with that influence factor, you multiply your q value. Then you will get a increase in stress at the one of the corner point. Okay. So let us see one example problem here. Okay, so this is the example. What they given? Find delta sigma z due to the Q1 at point A at a depth 1.2 meter. So one more thing before going into this problem, whatever this m and n are there, no, this m and n can be interchangeable. Okay, you can't interchange. Hold on a minute. I think what happened? I hope all of you had a breakfast, right? So I will take up to 12 o'clock. Is it fine up to 12 o'clock if I take? How many students are there here? Okay, only 49 people. So I will take for another half an hour. Yeah. So this whatever m and n formulas are there, no? That b and z you can interchange, no problem. Okay, so what I written m here, m is nothing but b by z I written. Okay, so and n is equal to what I written, L by Z. So this, instead of B by Z, you can even take L by Z also. Here you can take B by Z. Okay, so answer is not going to change. Okay, so but it is always preferable to take B. Always you take the B your least dimension, and L will be higher dimension. Okay, suppose it's a rectangular area. So if it is a 2 by 3 meter footing, then your B will be 2 meter and L will be 3 meter. So larger dimension always it is a length, and smaller dimension always it is a breadth. Remember this, m is equal to b by z, n equal to L by z. What is z here? Z is nothing but your vertical depth. At what depth you are calculating below this corner point. Okay, coming to this problem. So this is my length. This is my length and this is my breadth. Okay. So I need to calculate the stress at below at point A at a depth of 1.2 meter. Z equal to 1.2 meter. Now first job is to find out what I have to find out. M and n I should find out. What is my m? M is equal to b by z. B is 1 meter. 1 by 1.2. N is equal to L by Z. L is 2 meter. 2 by 1.2. So 1 by 1.2 is how much? 0.83. And 2 by 1.2 is how much? 1.67. Okay. Now I got m and n value. Okay. So this is my m value and these are my n values here. These are my n values. I have to find out the influence factor. Okay. So for m is for m equal to 0.83. Where is my 0.83? 0.1, 0.2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 0.83. 3 is here, somewhere here. Okay. You follow this red line. Okay. So where I have to go? I have to look for 1.67 curve. N is equal to 1.67. Where is my n value? These are my n values. So 0.3, 4, 5, 8, 1, 1.4, and this is 2, right? So 1.4 and 1.6 is somewhere below this 2. Okay, so sorry. Where is this? This is 0.8. This is 1.4. Okay, this is 1.4. This is this is 1.4. So 1.6 is somewhere here. It will come like this. So this point. So the corresponding point is how much? 0.18. 0.18 you take. 0.18 little higher than 0.18. That is 0.18, 2, 3, whatever you want. Okay, so here I took 0.183. So how m and n value? I first calculate m and n value, then come to this graph. Take the m value and take the n value and corresponding influence factor you should take. So once you get the influence factor, simply Q into influence factor. What is my Q value? 317 kilopascal into influence factor will give me delta sigma z equal to this much. Understood, no? Any doubt here? So in the exam, if at all if they are asking a problem based on this, they should give either chart. If they are not giving chart, then what they should give? For different m and n value, for different m and n combination, they should give the influence factors. They should give the influence factor. Here they should give the table in the form of table. They should give. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to solve this problem, because see, otherwise you have to remember this entire big formula, which is not at all possible. Okay, so we can't remember this formula. So if any sensible person is setting the question paper, then he should give m and n value in terms of table like this. Okay. Okay. Now, what if see what is the important thing here? Important thing, whatever delta sigma z we are calculating, that is below the corner point. Suppose if you ask to find out any point other than this corner point, then how to calculate the stress increase? Okay, so this is again, if you remember that this what do you call that theory of superposition, that superposition theory is, remember that you should apply. Okay, like see, this is the rectangular area. Suppose if you ask to find out at a point somewhere here, then what you should do, you have to construct this you have to redraw this loaded area, so that this point will become a corner point. Okay, how I can make this point as a corner point? Just by redrawing like this. Okay, so like this, first you calculate the stress increase due to this area. I will call A1. The stress increase due to this area, that is A2. The stress increase due to this area, that is A3, and stress increase due to A4. Then combined all. Okay, you combine all, then you will get a stress increase at the point within the loaded area. So this is equivalent to this. Okay. Now, suppose if you ask you to find out the stress increase away from that loaded area. Okay, this is the loaded area, and if you are asked to find out the stress increase at this point, then how to find out? Then you have to construct a bigger rectangle here. You have to construct a bigger rectangle so that this point has become the corner point. Now, see, this much area you have extra load you added, right? Let me, this much load, this much extra load you have added. This much extra load you added, then you have to deduct that Q1. Okay, so this is the negative Q, because you have to deduct this Q, you have to deduct, and this Q you have to deduct. So in the while deducting, you have deducted this corner point 2 times, right? This corner points you have deducted 2 times. That's why I am adding again one more Q here. So you make a bigger rectangle. Then in that rectangle, you calculate the stress increase due to this loaded area. But this bigger rectangle having some excess area. So this much excess area you have to deduct, and this much excess area you have to deduct. Since you are deducting this area 2 times, then you should add this area here. Understood, no? Any doubts here? Okay, so let us solve one problem, then you will understand. So this problem, I think it's a very straightforward. Now what I will do, I will take another problem here. Yeah, this problem also is fine, but after this, yeah, this is superposition problem. Okay, I will come to this problem later. Before that, let me solve this problem. This problem is a load of 1500 kilonewton is carried on a foundation 2 meters square at a shallow depth in the soil mass. Determine the vertical stress at point 5 meters below the center of the foundation, assuming that the load is uniformly distributed over a foundation. That is first part. The second part, they are asking you to find out the stress increase by considering this 1500 kilonewton as a point load. So let me draw here one figure, 2 meters square footing. Okay, so so this is ground level. So this is 2 by 2 meter square footing. So it is a carrying how much load it is carrying? 1500 kilometer. 1500 kilo. 1500 kilometer it is carrying. So it is carried foundation 2 meter square at a shallow depth in a soil mass. Determine the vertical stress at a depth 5 meter. They are asking. Okay, so suppose this is my 5 meter depth. 5 meter below the center of the foundation. Below the center of the foundation means here. Here they are asking you to find out delta sigma z. Okay, so two things they are asking. One is you calculate delta sigma z by considering this 1500 kilonewton as a UDL and also as a point load. Suppose first let me calculate with like UDL 1500 kilonewton. So now I have to calculate small q. What is my small q? Small q is nothing but your load divided by area will give me the pressure intensity or load intensity. It is small q. So 1500 kilonewton divided by, it is 1500 kilonewton is acting over a area of 2 by 2 meter. Okay, so that's why take the area of square. Okay, so 2 square. So now I got a q value. Yeah, q value I got 375 kilonewton per meter square. Once I got q value, now they are asking you to find out the, see, the suppose this is 2 meter. Okay, so this is 2 meter and this is 2 meter. And what is the intensity of load now? Intensity of load is 375 kilonewton per meter square. Now they are asking you to find out a delta sigma z at point here at a depth of 5 meter. At the depth of 5 meter. Okay. Now see, this is the rectangular area. Rectangular area. Now you are calculating at the one of the corner. You have the formula to calculate the stresses at the one of the corner. Okay. Now you check m and you calculate m and n value. What is my m? M is nothing but your b by z, right? So b is anyway it is 2 meter. Okay. So 2 by 5. 2 by 5. So my m value will be 0.2. Similarly, you calculate n value. So n also L by z. L by z. So L is how much? 2 meter. 2 by 5. So is equal to 0.2. Okay. So now you got m and n. You got. Now I have to calculate the influence factor for that m and n. So if you m is equal to 0.2, n equal to 0.2. Okay, let me go to this here. Okay, where is my 0.2? M is equal to this is 0.1 and this is my 0.2. And n is equal to 0.2. This is 0.1 curve and this is 0.2 curve. Okay, so come here. Okay, so here equal to almost 0.02, little less than 0.02. Like a 0.018, 0.019 you can take, or even 0.02 also you can take. Okay, so here I took 0.018. So I got the influence factor. I got. Okay. Now here, see, this thing is there now. This okay. See, I made a mistake here. Okay, you see, I made a mistake here. Now I have to divide this rectangle square is there. This I have to deduct. I have to divide it into 4 parts. I have to divide it into 4 parts. Then you multiply by 4 times. So because it's a 4. They are asking you to find out at the center, right? At the center, they are asking you to find out here delta sigma z. Delta sigma z. They are asking you to find out at the center. This point. So you calculate now m and n value I calculated for one small sector here. Okay, so this is let me call it as A1. This is A2, and this is A3. This is A4. Okay, so for A1, my m and n value are 1 here. 1 by 5. This is 1 by 5. What is 1 by 5? Yeah, 1 by 5 is 0.2. And again 1 by 5 is 0.2. Okay. So for one small sector I calculated, but similarly it is holds good for all the four remaining 3 sectors. Okay. So now whatever this IR you calculated now, this multiply by 4, because four small rectangles are there, or 4 small squares are there. Okay, that's why I'm multiplying by 4. 4 into my intensity of loading into my influence factor. Okay, so this is the answer. 27 kilonewton per meter square is the answer. So earlier what mistake I made here, I took an entire square here, okay, which is not correct, because if I take it as an entire square, then I am calculating the stress increase at this point, which they are not asking you. They are asking you to find out the stress increase at the center of the footing. Okay, so I have to calculate at the center of the footing. Then this bigger square is this. I will divide it into 4 small squares. Once I divide, then obviously my m and n value will change here. It will become half here, because L and my B and L also is changing here. Earlier B, how much it was? 2 meter. For an entire bigger rectangle it was 2 meter. Now for a smaller square it become 1 meter. This is 1 meter. Okay. Understood? Any doubt here? So only thing you have to, you should be able to calculate m and n value. Once you get that m and n value, refer to that chart. Then I will get the corresponding m and n value. I will get the influence factor. Okay. So influence factor I will get. Once I get influence factor, simply multiply with that intensity of loading, and then the number of those small rectangles. Any doubts here? Why I am multiplying by 4 here? If you have, anybody is having doubt why I am multiplying by 4 here? Because I am calculating the stresses for these smaller rectangles. Okay, so let me erase this neatly. I will write it here. Okay. It is not erasing. Okay, so this is my rectangle. Okay, so this is the rectangle, sorry, not rectangle, square. So this is 2 meter, and this is also 2 meter. Where they are asking you to find out the stress increase, assuming that load is uniformly distributed over the foundation, and assuming determine the vertical stress at 0.5 meter below the center of the foundation. You see this word, center of the foundation. So at the center I have to calculate here, center. Here I should calculate delta sigma z. Now I have to, if I want to find, I don't have any formula to calculate increase in stress at the center of the square, but I have the formula to find out the increase in stress at one of the corner of the square, right? So now I have to modify this square so that this point will become center. Okay, so how I can modify this one? So simply you divide this one into 4 equal smaller squares. Okay, so A1, A2, A3, A4. So now you calculate for one area, you calculate, multiply by 4. It will give me the stress increase at the center. What if they ask you to find out the stress increase at this level, this point? Then no need to divide this entire square area, because I have already my loaded area is actually, it is representative of my formula, whatever formula I am going to use, or whatever theory we have deduced earlier. Okay, so no need to divide it. Simply straight away you apply the formula, you will get the answer. Okay. So there is another part here. The second part is there. What is the second part? Second part is, see, now we, in the first part we calculated the stress increase due to these by assuming uniformly distributed. Okay, so in the second part they are asking you to find out the stress increase by assuming this 1500 kilonewton as a point load. So if you want to calculate that one, then it is that Bosnisk equation, that point load equation you should remember. What is that? Delta sigma Z is equal to Q by Z square into my influence factor. What is Q? Q is 1500 kilonewton. Z is 5 meter at a 5 meter depth, and my influence factor. What is the influence factor here? Oh, this is the influence factor. So this influence factor is a function of what? It is a function of R by Z. So where is what is the R by Z here? R by Z is 0 here. Why? Because they are asking you to find out exactly below the applied point load. Whatever point load is there, no, here. Okay, let me draw. I think I erased that figure. I will draw it once again here. This is the ground level, and this is 2 meter by 2 meter, and this is my load Q. Q is equal to how much? 1500 kilo Newton. Okay, so exactly below the applied load at a depth of how much? At a depth of 5 meter. That is Z equal to 5 meter. So my R by Z is my R is what? 0. My R is 0. Z is anyway 5. 0 by 5 is what? 0 only. So for R by Z equal to 0, I got your influence factor as 0.478. Okay. So you simply multiply with 0.478, 29 kilonewton per meter square is the intensity of loading. Now you compare the result here. How much I got? 29 kilonewton per meter square. If you use it as a UDL, then it is a 27. Okay, that means if you apply it as a UDL load, the stress increase is little lesser than your point load. If you apply it as a point load, understood, no? So if I apply it as a UDL or if I apply it as a point load, there is a little change here. So if you apply it as a point load, I got a 29 kilonewton per meter square. If you apply it as a UDL, how much I got here? 27. Around 2 kilonewton per meter square is reduced here. Understood? Any doubt here? Okay. So I will take up this problem. I'll take up this problem and then I will stop it here. So this rectangular area, square, circular area, I will discuss in the next class. So let me finish this problem and then we will end up here. Okay, take up this problem. Okay, now look at this problem. A rectangular foundation 6 meter by 3 meter carries a uniform pressure of 3000 kilonewton per meter square near the surface of a soil mass Determine the vertical stress at a depth of 3 meter below point A. So this is the rectangular surface area. What is the dimension? 6 meter by 3 meter. Okay, so this is the L. This is L and this is your P. Now they are asking you to find out the stress increase at point A at a depth of how much? A depth of 3 meter. 3 meter below the ground level. Okay, so suppose this is my ground level. At 3 meter depth, they are asking 3 meter depth. So now, if you see this point, the point is falling away away from your loaded area. So this is the loaded area actually. This is the loaded area, but they are asking you to find out the stress increase at point A. Okay, so what should be the condition here? The point A should be the corner of one of the rectangle. You have to construct one big rectangle here. You have to construct one big rectangle. You have to construct one big rectangle. Then you remove this portion of the rectangle. This portion of the rectangle, if you remove, then I will get a stress increase due to the applied load. Okay, so this, whatever this figure is there, this figure can be redrawn so that my point A will become the corner of the those rectangles. See this one. Now what I did, I constructed one bigger rectangle here. This bigger rectangle I constructed, and then I have removing here. Okay, minus 300. You see, this minus sign will, because this is the extra portion I added to make this point to make this point as a corner of one rectangle. Okay, now see, the point A is a corner of this bigger rectangle, and then also it will become and then a corner of this smaller rectangle. So now I will calculate the stress increase due to this bigger portion. Let me change the color here. So now I will calculate the stress increase due to this much load. Then I will multiply it. I will multiply by 2. Then it will become this side also. Okay. So now I have to reduce I have to deduct this much area. How much area I should reduce? I have to reduce this area. Because this is the extra portion I added just to make this point as a corner point. So I should deduct it. So now my new rectangle is this. This is my new rectangle, one plus rectangle and one minus rectangle. 2 times. If you multiply it by 2 times, then it will become both sides. Okay. So first calculate M value and N value for this bigger rectangle. So what is my breadth here? My breadth is 3 meter. This is my B and this is my L. So what is M? M is nothing but B by Z. So let me calculate. M is equal to B by Z. So what is B here? B is 3 meter. But Z is also 3 meter. So my M is equal to 1. Now what is the N? N is equal to L by Z. What is L here? 4.5. How it becomes 4.5? 3 plus 1.5. 4.5. 4.5 divided by Z is anyway 3 meter. 3 meter. So my N is also is how much? So 4.5 by 3 is 1.5. Now I calculated for this bigger area. Okay, so let me erase this once again and then I will. Okay, what I did now I calculated for this area. For this area I calculated. So in this area, how much area I should deduct? Sorry. How much area I should deduct? This much area I should deduct, right? So now I will calculate the intensity, the load intensity due to this smaller rectangle. Okay, this one is. What is my M here? What is the B? What is the L and B here? L is sorry, B is 3 meter. So this is 3 meter and this is 1.5 meter. So M is equal to B by Z. B is anyway 3 meter. So 3 by 3 is 1 and N is equal to L by Z. What is L here for this smaller rectangle? It is just 1.5 meter. This is 1.5 meter. Okay. So that's why 1.5 by Z will give me the influence factor. So this is the influence factor due to this big rectangle, and the IR2 is the influence factor for this small rectangle. So how I got these value? These values I got it from this graph. So if you go for M is equal to 1 and N is equal to 1.5, M is equal to 1 and N is equal to 1.5. Where is my 1.5? This is 1.4 and 1.5 somewhere here. Okay. So this is 0.20, little less than 0.20. Okay, so I took 0.193. I took. Similarly, IR2 is 0.12. Okay, so this how I got by look M is equal to 1 and N is equal to 0. What is my N value here? 0.5. Okay. So for M is equal to 1 and N is equal to 0.5, what is my influence factor? 0.12. That's why here 0.12 I got. Now, so see, now I calculated for this one. If I multiply by 2 times, then it will become 2 times this side area also it will cover. And similarly, if I multiply for this smaller rectangle also, it will become it will apply to this rectangle also. That's why it become 2 times. 2 times IQ, 2 into IQ into IR1 minus IR2. It will become 43.8 kilopascal. Okay. Understood? Okay, so let me stop it here. If you have any doubt, please ask me right now. Then we can end up the class here. Any doubts? Snehalata? Any doubts are there? Are you there, Snehalata? No doubts? Understood. How to modify that rectangle into smaller rectangle so that whichever point they have asked, that point should be your corner of the one of the rectangle.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Pawan, any doubts? Yeah, please ask me. Yes,
sir, in
somebody.
the last problem you solved, no, sir.
Yes.
In that problem, that graph, no, sir. How did you take it?
Values.
Yes, sir.
Values you are asking.
IR values.
Okay. Let me open. IR values, right? See,
Yes, sir.
M and N value I know here. See, let me make it into presentation. Yeah, these values you are asking, right? How I got
No,
these
sir, I
values?
have understood this.
Right?
From M and N, you took graph. No, from graph, you took IR value, no, sir, using M and N. How did you?
Yes. Graph. How to read graph you are asking, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, for M, okay, M is equal to how much here? 1, and N is equal to 1.5, right? So let's go to that graph. So my M is 1, and N is how much? How much N I got here? 1.5. So I have to look for the, see, yeah, these are the N values, these graph. Okay, so this graph here, N is equal to 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 6, 7, sorry, 6, 8. So this is 1, this is 1.4. So my N value was 1.5, right? So this is 1.4. Sorry, it is hanging out. Okay, yeah. So this is 1.4. So 1.5 will come somewhere here, right? This graph. So this is the 1.5 graph. This is 1.4. This is 2, right? In between these two number only 1.5 should come. So that approximately I'm taking here. Okay, so approximately around 0.22, around 0.1. This is 1.8. This is 1.85. 1.85, 1.86, 1.87, 1.88. 1.88 you can take 0.188 or even 0.189 also is fine. Even if you take 0.2 also no problem. There is not much going to change. Understood, no? So
Yes, sir.
here I got 0.193. It is almost 0.2 only, no? It is almost 0.2 only. Even if you take 0.2 also, you are not going to get any error here. Okay, so similarly for this one, for this smaller rectangle, I should calculate, no? So m is equal to 1 I got, and n is equal to 0.5 I got. So let us go to that figure. M is
Sir.
equal to 1.
We need to take
Yeah, tell me.
3 decimal places only, sir.
No. It's not
We can
necessary.
take 2
Two
also.
decimal. Yeah, 2 also is fine.
Okay, sir.
2 also is fine. So it is 0.189. Instead of that, if you take 0.2 also is fine. Because it's it little approximate only you can do here. Okay, like interpolation. Because here you don't have exactly 1.5 graph. You don't have. You are interpolating between 1.4 and 2. So let us for 0.5 is how much here? See, this is 0.5. This is 0.12 you can take. The influence factor here for the smaller rectangle 0.12. 0.12 I have taken. Then simply you see, since now I calculate only for this much area. So if you multiply by 2, then it will become mirror image of this one. Okay, that's why I multiplying it by 2. Any doubts
Yes,
here?
sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Sir, in the first problem, sir,
Yeah. First
It-
problem.
rectangle problem you took, sir, of
This one you are asking?
no, sir, before
This one, huh?
first problem. No, sir.
Before this. This one.
Yes, sir.
This one, huh? Okay. Yeah. Tell me.
How do we take here this Q value, sir? When
Q value they given
sir.
no, here. Q
Okay,
equal to Q value they given 317 kilopascal.
okay, sir.
This is like a UDL load only. So this 317 kilopascal is, this is applied over this much total area, 2 meter by 1 meter. It is almost like some rectangular foundation. Is it fine?
Yes, sir. I thought they haven't gave that, sir. So
No, they given the Q value they given.
yes, sir.
Okay. So any other doubts? No doubts? Okay, so anyway today I will share this PPT in the Google Classroom. Okay, so that is not the final PPT. Okay, because I have to add still some more second part portion. But anyway, I will for the time being you refer this PPT. Okay, so once the final chapter will be over, then final PPT will be uploaded. Okay, yeah, whatever now I will upload that will be just for your reference. So today I will upload it and go through that PPT. So if you get still if you have any doubts, then you can ask me on the Monday class. Okay, so Monday I have from 8 to 9, right? So I will take that class. In that class you can ask me. So then I will end up. So enjoy your Sunday. I think I ruined your Sunday. So for 2 hours. Okay, now you can enjoy. So bye. See you. Just leave the call. Yeah, why I'm not able to end this?